You know, I feel like we're having a little bit of a WWE conversation, a WWF conversation, because we spoke earlier today about Sam Reinhart. Today's video, or at least the second video of the day, it's about Carter Hart. Another Hart, the Hart family. Let's go over here. Bret the Hitman Hart, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Let's talk today about Carter Hart, because things have really been going rough for him. Let's go over onto the NHL standings first and foremost to kind of illustrate the introduction of what we're getting towards here. If you go over to the Eastern Division standings, you can see the Philadelphia Flyers are 5th, and they are quite a significant amount away from 4th. They're currently, at the time of this recording, 3 points away from the Boston Bruins, and they have one more game played. The Caps, the Islanders, the Penguins, and the Bruins all have significant leads over the Philadelphia Flyers, but one interesting stat I wanted to focus on here is goals allowed, because oddly enough, they're last. Or at least, no, they're first. First or last, they're the worst team in the East when it comes to goals allowed. They have 105. That is 4 more than the Buffalo Sabres, and the Buffalo Sabres are the Buffalo Sabres. So, for the Philadelphia Flyers, it's kind of a miracle that they're up here because of the amount of goals that they've succumbed. Take a look at their recent game log. Let's take a look at this. Ever since the outdoor game against the Boston Bruins the other week, the Flyers have been struggling. You take a look at these, okay, 3 wins in a row, okay, that's cool. New York, Buffalo, 2 straight shutouts. Elliott, Hart, that's awesome. But then you take a look at 5-2 Pittsburgh, 4-3 Pittsburgh, 3-1 Washington, and then recently, going over the past 10 days worth of Flyers hockey, 5-3 loss to Washington, 5-4 loss to Washington, 5-4 overtime win. Okay, that's cool, but you guys let in 4 goals. Then you had the 9-0 loss, which was just an absolute spectacular event. Then a 4-3 win against the Islanders, and then yesterday you had a 6-1 loss. Carter Hart was in here for a significant amount of these games, splitting the load with Brian Elliott. And if you take a look at Carter Hart and the way he has been performing this season, you can see that his save percentage is at a grand 8.75. 8.75 over here, and his goals against average is a 3.83. Oh man, that is... yikes, that is really not all too great. And that's just the numbers point of view. That's just taking a look at a guy's numbers and trying to draw a conclusion. Okay, let's try to at least compare. Brian Elliott this season is out here with 14 games played compared to Carter Hart's 20. His goals against average, 2.97. Okay, that's still bad, but you know what? It's significantly better than Carter Hart's. It's almost an entirely full goal against per game. And the save percentage, 8.92. Okay, that's still pretty bad as well, but Carter Hart's, man, 8.75. There's room for improvement there. Expanding more into the numbers point of view, let's go over the recent games played for Carter Hart. Last night against the Islanders, he had 28 shots against and he made 22 saves, a 7.86 save percentage. That's not great. The game before that, he won, but he had an 8.80 save percentage. The game before that, a loss against the Rangers, a 7.50 save percentage. Then you just go up and you see just an inconsistent level of stability here. You see the 8.46, you have a 6.25. Granted, that one, he only faced a very limited amount of shots. You have 8.89 over here and 8.15. You have that shutout against the Buffalo Sabres back on February 28th, and it actually gets a lot better from there. You see some 9.71, some 9.29, some 9.39s up there. But recently, it's been a struggle for Carter Hart, statistically speaking. And that's just the numbers point of view, because when you go over how exactly Carter Hart has been playing, how he's looked out there on the ice, Philadelphia Flyers fans will be the first to tell you that Carter Hart this year is not the same Carter Hart that we saw firstly in the bubble against Montreal last summer, and going further beyond that into the previous seasons of his career. This is the worst statistical performance that Carter Hart has had ever since he was a first-year WHL player in 2013-14, and he still had better numbers back then after graduating from the U18, U16 AAA leagues. So that kind of puts into perspective how not common it is for Carter Hart to be statistically this bad. And in fact, there was a goal yesterday where Carter Hart just completely gave the puck away to the Islanders guy in front. Terrible read right there, terrible giveaway, And it's gotten to a point now where when you Google Carter Hart, these are the top stories that pop up. TheHockeyWriters.com, the Philadelphia Flyers Carter Hart can save his 2020-2021 season. Okay, it's that bad that it needs to be saved. Second, the Philadelphia Inquirer, this one's brutal. Carter Hart has become one of the Flyers' biggest concerns. Who has expected that? The article in question, written by Mike Sielski, is absolutely a dagger. Go ahead and do yourself a favor and read this one. Talks about how Carter Hart seemed as if he had stood in front of Rick Moranis' laser contraption and shrunk himself in the previous action's worth of games. Yeah, it's very poetic right there. You also have another article here, Flyers Carter Hart, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and the fan sentiment towards this guy has been pretty bad. But you know what? I'm not going to say it's all on him, because when it comes to the Flyers, it's not even just Carter Hart that's been bad. There are a whole bunch of problems with this defensive core. There's a reason why they've let in so many goals. Brian Elliott, sure, he's got better numbers, but he's not really doing all too hot in the crease either. And when it comes to the way the Flyers are playing, it's just an unmotivated, just seemingly kind of lifeless game out there. And sure, the big guys, the good guys on the team that you want to score points, they're scoring points. They're not the problem. It's not the Giroux or the Voraceks that are out here letting this team down. It's kind of everything else around that. You have the coaching system that's not really working. 9-0 against New York. What more could you expect? Sure, goaltending plays a part of it, but hockey at the end of the day is still a team sport, which is why I'm asking here, what has gone wrong with Carter Hart? Let's go over a few fan sentiments right here. This is one that I saw on Reddit. This is in the game thread for the Flyers versus the Islanders from yesterday, where Carter Hart ended up with that 700-something save percentage. One of the comments here reads this. I'm going to sound like an idiot for asking this, but was Carter Hart called up a bit too early? He was amazing these past 2 seasons, but he looks mentally crushed right now. A goalie getting as many starts as he has by the age of 22 is unheard of. I hope he figures it out this offseason and gets his confidence back. This season is probably the worst-case scenario for the Flyers, despite not being the worst team in the division. Please, get our goalies some help, Fletcher, and I really hope Carter isn't fully broken. I don't want to watch the Flyers search for a franchise goalie for another 25 years. And I want to end this video off just by saying this. You know me, I don't really watch too many Flyers games. They're not usually on here in Vancouver. Actually, sometimes they are, but when they are, I'm usually asleep. I usually mostly talk about these players in terms of what I see and what I know. And when it comes to Carter Hart, everything that we have seen about this guy leading into his debut as an NHL starter was just absolutely magnificent. I don't need to remind you how good this guy was for Team Canada at the World Juniors back in 2018. A .930 save percentage and a .181 goals against average. This guy was absolutely incredible that year. And it was crazy to me how back then people were talking about how he was the next Carey Price. He was so young, he was so dominant, and he was doing this, doing that. In the WHL, he was one of the best goalies ever, a .947 save percentage and a .160 goals against in 41 games. By golly gee, that's crazy. And as he moved up the ranks, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, the Philadelphia Flyers, starting out with that club and being a beast just at 20 years old, eventually making Team Canada at the World Championships and posting up a goals against average below 1. Carter Hart, to me, has always been in the position to grow and to become one of these top-of-the-league goaltenders. And this is really the first time in years that we have actually seen some adversity here popping up for this guy. And it's not even fair because it's kind of adversity for the whole team. It's not really just Carter Hart. It's the defensive systems, it's the engagement, it's everything else around the Flyers. They're still a few points out of the playoffs, and they don't have games in hand. Things are getting rough over there in Philly. Carter Hart may be a part of the problem, but he is not the problem, if you get what I mean. So, for me, I'm thinking about this okay, in 5 years, when Carter Hart is 27, I think it's a lot more likely that Carter Hart is one of the top goaltenders in the league. He might already have a Vezina to his name than he would be in the AHL, or he would be kind of swimming somewhere in Europe looking for another starting job elsewhere. because just the track record of this guy, we haven't seen anything like this in such a long time, and I'm so looking forward to what exactly Carter Hart can do in his prime, because what we've been seeing out of him before his prime, at the junior level, at the World Championship level, even at the NHL level, it's been magnificent when it was great. So, talk to me in the comments what you thought about Carter Hart over here. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.